What's up, everybody? It's Wish for Your Master, and I'm bringing you Netflix Friday number 4. And this Netflix Friday, I kind of had to throw together at the last minute, or maybe not the commentary together at the last minute, but I had to pick something to review at the last minute because I realized that I had used up all the stuff I had watched that I wanted to review, that I had a strong feeling either way on, and that I didn't really have anything else to review because I've been watching so much of 24. I became a huge 24 fan kind of late into the series. I want to say maybe like the fifth or sixth season, something like that. And so now I've gone back and started to watch all of the earlier seasons, and I'm now up to about the start of season 3. And so I haven't really been watching much else on Netflix except that. So I was like, I woke up this morning and I'm like, man, I gotta watch something to be able to review. And so I was just scrolling through randomly, looking for videos that or movies rather. I keep calling them videos from YouTube. Movies that were recommended or whatever for me on. I guess Netflix takes all the movies you watch and throws in some sort of algorithm, and it spits out movies that are recommended for you. And one of them, I guess because I watch a lot of documentaries, is came up called Very Young Girls, and I was like, hey, I know the name of that. Like I've heard that before. And then it dawned on me this was the movie that Blame Truth and XCal uh, used to accuse Hutch of being a pedophile a while back, and like they showed his gamer card or whatever, and it said he was watching Very Young Girls, and they, you know, kind of tongue in cheek, made it out to him to be a pedophile. And if you really don't follow like the I don't know, like the interaction between YouTubers, then you really don't get that. If you just come and watch videos and that's it, you really don't get that. But that's kind of Hutch's thing, is he's accused of being a pedophile and liking 9-year-old girls, and that's where that all started. In case you were ever wondering. But on to the movie. This is a documentary that came out in 2007. It was made by David Shisigal or something. I don't know. And Nina Alvarez. And it follows very young girls basically that are, they say the average age into the commercial sex industry is about 13. And they follow this particular documentary follows the girls in New York City, and it also follows like this GEMS program. It's I don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically like this support group started by this lady who was a sex slave at one point, or whatever you want to call them, and she kind of survived and made it through, and she now tries to help all these girls that it's kind of like an alternative to prison, because what's fucked up is these girls are being kind of taken by these pimps and basically kidnapped, which I'll get to in a second. But then once they're caught on the streets, the prosecutors and the judges treat these 13, 14, 15-year-old girls like they're full-grown adult criminals, and will sentence them to months in jail or a month in jail or whatever. And this GEMS program is kind of like an alternative to prison, or to, it's like a, not a probation, but like a rehabilitation center, a rehab center of some sort. And they kind of all live there together. They have like an 11 o'clock curfew, and it's just kind of like a support group. They have those, sit in a circle and talk about your feelings, and it really uh, baffles my mind that they'll sit there, and every single one of them really will sit there and talk about how much they are in love with their daddy. They all call him daddy. They don't call him, their pimp or whatever. But and you can see watching this movie that some of the girls are much more along in their, I guess, recovery cycle, as they're like, yeah, I was a hoe. I loved my daddy or whatever, but to society, I was a hoe. And, I was doing what I had to do to make money for him, not even for them. But, to society, I was a hoe, and that's what I was. And, like that just, like, acceptance and, basically acceptance and taking blame for your actions kind of deal. Whereas other ones are like, yeah, I know he's bad for me, but I still love him, and I want to go back to him. And there's one girl who I think her name was Ebony, which, oh, another thing. Well, I'll get to that in a second, but her name was Ebony, and she was talking about how much she loved her pimp, and this in New York City, by the way, and she flew all the way to Miami to go back to this guy who was beating the shit out of her and making her be a prostitute, and she flew all the way to Miami. So this lady from the GEMS program flew to Miami and basically talked to her, and she paid for her plane ticket back to New York. And Ebony stayed 2 weeks and then wound up leaving again, and they tell you that in kind of like the ending credits. But it's just kind of amazing that they can. And even the one that seemed to be one of the strongest in that group, she basically wound up relapsing, and she was looking for her. Like, a lot of these girls have issues with getting ID and getting birth certificates and stuff like that, because if they are old enough to have ID, when the pimps basically kidnap them, then the pimps take it from them, and so then they have it. And if they're not old enough, they're 13 or whatever, then they never really have any ID to begin with. And this girl was trying to get, I guess she was an immigrant, because she called her pimp to ask, to get her green card. And, they wound up talking, and look, little fucking ghost bitch. And they wound up talking, and, she basically was like, it's like a drug. He just has a way of sweet talking, and, she hung up. And then, literally the next clip they show is her calling him back and being like, boo, I love you, and you're my man, and all this. And it's just like, oh my god. But I just don't understand how these women, like, I've always heard, the girls that have daddy issues, the girls that are, have family issues, they're the easiest ones to manipulate for, like, the quote unquote players. But it's just like the fact that these girls are at such mercy to these guys is just, it really baffles my mind. And I'm gonna bring up something that might be a little controversial, but I feel it needs to be said. There was there was definitely one predominant race in the film shown, and it wasn't Caucasian or Hispanic. I'll just leave it at that. And what I saw was a lot of almost, I think every single one of the girls came from broken families, which isn't surprising. But a lot of them came from fatherless families, and a lot of them came from, even if it was families with fathers, it was fucked up parents, drug addict parents, abusive parents, that kind of deal. And I think that something about, and this is not just the black culture. I'm not painting that brush broad, but a lot of, and it's so funny because I was watching the Game 360's video earlier today, and it was the one where he basically called out Wings for putting Krispy Kreme in his description or whatever, and he was like, he's talking all kinds of shit about all kinds of commentators, and he's like, yeah, but I know none of them are getting pussy, and none of them are getting pussy like I am, and like Jive Turkey, and all these other guys. And I'm like, what is it about the black culture, or I'm sorry, the African American culture, that makes males feel that getting pussy is the only thing that they should be doing? What about being a good human being? What about being a good father to the babies that are produced from getting that pussy? What about treating the woman that is giving you that pussy with respect, like she's another human being rather than just a piece of pussy? I just don't understand it, and it's not just black guys. I understand it. Actually, in the video, or in the movie, they show this black guy who winds up marrying one of the girls, who, like, this girl gets a job at the GEMS place, and she winds up getting her own apartment, and she has a kid, and this guy winds up going in and being a father to that kid and marrying that girl. So I'm not trying to diss black people, I'm not trying to diss black guys. I'm just saying there's something wrong with not only black culture, but just male culture in general, that for some reason getting that pussy is the only thing that matters. And it's more prevalent, I would say, in African American males than other races, but it does apply to other races, and I just think that there's something fucked up about that. But this gameplay ended a long time ago, and I went on a rant way too long. But I would say definitely rating this movie, it is absolutely a must watch. I think it is a great documentary, and I think that you definitely should watch it. As far as the question, so I can get you guys to leave comments, because if I don't ask questions, y'all motherfuckers don't leave comments. So, if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think about it. And if you haven't, go watch it. Let me know what you think about it, because you can stream it on Netflix. And also, do you think I'm right that, there's something wrong with our culture, and all male culture in general, that for some reason getting that pussy is the only thing that seems to matter to a large majority of men, and that something about the status of getting that pussy is more important than anything else, being a good man, being the man that you should be. So yeah, thanks guys. This is Wish for Your Master signing out, and hope you liked it.